bouncing from critical support after just playing out a massive scandal candle in the short term, while the price is now flashing a new signal in the short term that we need to pay attention to, while Ethereum is now rejecting from key resistance after bouncing from key support. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before getting into the Bitcoin charts today, we need to talk about the new inflation numbers and of course the Fed meeting, which happened over the last one day. And just a really quick recap for my last video, I said in my last video that expectation for the new CPI inflation number was 3.4%. And if we get lower than 3.4%, that is considered bullish. If we get higher than 3.4%, that is considered bearish. And as we can see here, and as I tweeted out, as soon as the new numbers got released, within seconds from them being released, we got inflation coming in at 3.3% year over year for the CPI inflation rate. And as soon as this new information was released, we saw a quick pump in the price of Bitcoin right around here on the Bitcoin chart. That information was released, and then we saw a pump over the next few hours. This is on the 1 hour Bitcoin chart, by the way. And then right around here, we had the FOMC meeting, also known as a Fed meeting, and the Federal Reserve, as expected, decided to keep interest rates at the same level for this meeting. But also in the latest Fed meeting, the Federal Reserve hinted at not as many rate cuts potentially coming later this year. So for example, a lot of people were expecting maybe 2 to 3 rate cuts, but instead the Federal Reserve is maybe saying 1 rate cut later this year. And so as I explained in my last video, the less rate cuts, the less bullish, the higher for longer the interest rates are, the more bearish that is. And so essentially we got a buy the rumor, sell the news event, with the buy the rumor happening at the CPI inflation numbers, because once again that came in just below expectations, which is technically bullish. And after that we did see that pump in the price of Bitcoin. But once again, when the Fed meeting happened and they basically kept interest rates the same, that kind of brought the expectations back to reality. And so after that, obviously we saw a retracement of that pump here in the short term, basically causing a classic scandal candle. But either way, whatever was going to happen with the CPI inflation numbers and the Fed meeting, we were definitely due to see some volatility over the last 24 hours as expected, due to these two major financial events happening right together. And once again, if you want to stay up to date on these sort of things in real time as they are happening, check out my Twitter, link down below this video if you want to get extra real-time updates throughout the day. And taking a look at some other Bitcoin news today, and on Tuesday, we actually saw a decent sized net outflow coming out of the spot Bitcoin ETFs, causing a decent amount of selling pressure on Tuesday. Because as we can see here, overall, we saw a net outflow of around $200 million leaving the Bitcoin ETFs just on Tuesday. And so obviously this potentially helped cause the dump that we saw on Tuesday in the price of Bitcoin, because if we're seeing $200 million of sell pressure from Bitcoin, from the Bitcoin ETFs, of course that is going to have some sort of negative effect on the price of Bitcoin, which is what we saw on that day. But either way, taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today, taking a look at the 4-day time frame, and this right here is the Bollinger Band indicator and the Bollinger Band width indicator. And over the last few days, nothing has really changed on this chart right here, because at least for now, the price is still somewhat consolidating sideways in the shorter term during a much larger bullish trend here on the larger timeframes. And if we're looking at these indicators right here, we're still seeing a major squeeze in the Bollinger Bands, with the Bollinger Bands width indicator in this area in between around 15 to 20. And historically speaking, this means we are getting extremely close to a massive volatile move. And basically, the lower this indicator goes and the longer it stays down here, the larger that volatile move will likely be. So basically, a massive volatile move is building right now in the price of Bitcoin. And looking at any of these previous examples, we're looking at potentially a 20 to 30% move in the price of Bitcoin that could start any day now, any week now, and will likely play out over the span of around 1 to 2 weeks, simply based on these previous examples. But I did talk more about this chart a couple of days ago here on the channel, so if you missed that video and you want to know more about this chart right here, then check out my last couple of videos here on the channel. And if we're taking a look at this 3-day Bitcoin chart, as of right now, the price of Bitcoin is still potentially forming a massive inverse head and shoulders pattern, which is a bullish pattern, but only if we confirm a breakout above this neckline, which is still sitting at around 71.7k. So we need to see ideally a 3-day candle close confirm above that level, and ideally above 73 to 74,000 in order to really flip much more bullish here on the larger time frames and expect that massive move to the upside, but once again, only if we confirm a breakout above this resistance, which as of right now has not happened. And in case you're new to this channel, the potential price target to the upside, if we confirm a breakout here, that would be sitting at around 86 to 87,000, which measuring that move from the point of the breakout to that price target, that would be around a 20% move to the upside, coming in line with that potential volatile move that's building on this chart. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart right now, the DXY is actually dropping back to the downside, which at least in the short term, this is a bullish signal for Bitcoin. Because as we can clearly see on this chart right here, time and time again, when the DXY is trending in the bearish direction, that is very often bullish for Bitcoin, and vice versa, when the DXY is trending in the bullish direction, that is quite often bearish for Bitcoin. And the reason behind the drop in the DXY today is actually those inflation numbers that came out as soon as these inflation numbers were released, as I actually shared in real time over on my Twitter. As soon as it happened, the DXY is dropping, which is pumping the price of Bitcoin right when that was happening. Because of course the US inflation rate, the CPI inflation rate, has an influence on what the Federal Reserve does, and the Federal Reserve obviously controls the US dollar, and this DXY is the US dollar index. And so once again, with those inflation numbers coming in a little bit below expectations, that dropped the DXY just in the short term here, which at least in the immediate short term is a bit of a bullish signal for Bitcoin, but we really need to see that drop continue to continue that previous bearish trend in the DXY in order to actually expect much more bullish price action for Bitcoin. And so as always, I'll be keeping you up to date on what's happening here in the DXY and many other important charts in these videos every day. So make sure you subscribe to this channel with notifications turned on so that you don't miss out on any of these important update videos. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, obviously just recently the price of Bitcoin has seen another perfect bounce from this exact area of support sitting in between around 67 to 68,000. And obviously I mentioned in my last video here on the channel that the price of Bitcoin was starting to trade below 67,000, but like I also said yesterday, for all we know that could just be a candle wick to the downside like what we've seen previously. And so in order to actually flip more bearish again in the short term here, we need to confirm at least a daily candle close well below 67,000, which at least for now has not happened. And so as of right now, that is still the area of support to pay attention to, where we have seen multiple bounces from over the last couple of weeks. And like I've also been saying over the last couple of weeks, while the price is in between this area of support and this area of resistance, which by the way is sitting in between around 72 to 74,000, and while the price is in between those areas of support and resistance, we're basically looking relatively neutral, just chopping around sideways in a sideways price range. And so honestly, I would not be surprised if we continue to see this type of price action here in the short term, basically a scandal candle just up and down, back and forth, like what we've seen over the last couple of weeks. And generally speaking, the majority of the volatility happened during the week on the weekdays, and these white areas on the chart right here are basically the weekends, the Saturdays and the Sundays, and that's where we usually see the least amount of volatility. And so with all of that being said, what is my trading strategy right now for the price of Bitcoin? And as of right now, my trading strategy has not changed over the last one day. Of course, I mentioned in my last video, when the price was back down here, I said that I've just added more to this long position because I actually had buy orders right at around 66 to 67,000. So basically right around this area of support, which I said I would add to my long position a few days ago if the price gets down here. And so as always, I followed through, I put my money where my mouth is, and I added more to that long position with buy orders right at around 66 to 67,000, as I said in my last video. And so as of right now, this is still currently a $250,000 Bitcoin long position. As of right now, $30,000 in realized profits and around $16,000 in unrealized profits. So overall, $40,000 to $50,000 in profits. And also, my stop loss is already sitting in profits anyway, so even in the worst case scenario, if the price just crashes right now, that will just hit the stop loss and close the remainder of the trade in profits, even in the worst case scenario. And as always, I've been sharing this trading strategy step by step, day by day, very transparently here on the channel, completely for free. So that is why it is important to subscribe to this channel with notifications turned on so that you don't miss out on any of these important update videos where I'm actually sharing these trading strategies where you could potentially make a lot of easy money in crypto. And if you also want to take trades just like this for yourself, then personally, I'm taking this trade over on Bybit. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit down below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account and deposit on that account, then you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also, if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim an exclusive 200 USDT airdrop position just by making a Bybit account using that link, making a deposit and claiming the airdrop. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex down below this video as an alternative crypto exchange. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we can still see a massive amount of liquidity sitting just above 72,000, more specifically around 72.1k to 72.4k approximately. But also, what we are now seeing in the DXY is just over the last one day, we have a new area of liquidity, new liquidation levels sitting in between around 70.2k to 70.6k. And so at least in the short term, those are the critical areas to pay attention to where a lot of short positions will get liquidated if the price crosses above those areas. And as for liquidity to the downside, we do have some liquidity just below 66,000, more specifically in between around 65,500 to 65.9k approximately. But as of right now, we simply have more liquidity to the upside compared to the downside, at least in the short term here. And with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, and right now the price of ETH actually just bounced from this 38.2% Fibonacci level of support on the logarithmic settings, which is sitting at around 3480 approximately. And this is based on the Fibonacci retracement tool, once again on the logarithmic settings, drawn from this local low up to this local swing high. And below that 38.2% Fibonacci level of support, we have the 50% retracement level sitting at around 3340, acting as support. And of course, the golden pocket area of support sitting in between around 3170 to 3220. And if we're taking a look at this 8-hour ETH to US dollar chart, we can see over the last one day, the price of ETH played out similar price action to what Bitcoin did. Obviously, we bounced from this retracement level, which was sitting at around 3450 approximately. But right now we're finding resistance at around this previous Fibonacci area of resistance, the golden pocket. And this is based on the Fibonacci retracement tool drawn from this swing high close to 4.1k down to this swing low. And by doing that, that places the golden pocket area of resistance in between around 3.6k to 3650. And at least for now, we are finding resistance around that area with a bit of a short-term rejection. But if we actually see a breakout back above around 3650 with confirmation, so candle closes back above that level, then in that case, we have more resistance closer towards around 3.8k to 3.9k. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum versus Bitcoin, this is ETH BTC on the weekly time frame, and at least as of right now, and as I've been saying over the last couple of weeks, technically speaking, this chart is still currently looking bearish, as we have just formed a new lower high in this massive bearish trend by rejecting again from this massive descending line of resistance. And in case you're new to this channel, what this actually means is basically whatever Bitcoin is doing, Ethereum is doing worse. because Ethereum is simply trending to the downside compared to Bitcoin. And so, for example, if Bitcoin has a drop to the downside against the US dollar, Ethereum will likely drop further. Or if Bitcoin has a bullish move, Ethereum could experience a bullish move, but maybe not as much as what Bitcoin did. And that will only really change if we see a confirmed breakout on this ETH BTC chart above this resistance and ideally above these previous highs, which at least as of right now has not happened. And if we're taking a quick look at the price of Solana, we're also seeing very similar price action for Solana as what I just said for Ethereum. We've seen pretty much a perfect bounce from this area of support, well, just above this area, about $1 above this area of support, which is sitting in between around 140 to 144, and we bounced at around 145. And so far, we're finding perfect resistance as expected at around $160, which was also previous resistance and support. So 160 is an important level to pay attention to. But if we see a confirmed breakout with candle closes back above 160, then in that case, the next area of resistance is sitting in between around 170 to 175. But at least for now, if we're still finding support in this area and resistance around 160, the price is basically within a choppy sideways price range in between support and resistance. So we could still see this type of price action moving forward just in the short term. But either way, if you want to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, once again, check out those links down below this video to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions and short positions. And the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.